Walker on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Culture prevents so many negative things from happening to us as individuals and as communities.
Strong roots begin with a healthy heart. For Indigenous women, heart health is part of caring for community, culture, and future generations. Even small steps can help protect what matters most. Discover ways to support your heart at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats, because your heart beats for generations. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for scattered showers and storms tonight with a low around 54. Saturday sunny with a high near 75. And Sunday partly cloudy with a high around 74. Whatever the forecast, it's a beautiful day on Broadway. The 2026-27 Broadway series packages are available now with Hennepin Arts. Guarantee seats to hits like The Outsiders, Maybe Happy Ending, and Buena Vista Social Club. Enjoy the best of Broadway all year long. Secure your subscription today at hennepinarts.org.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi, to all my friends and relatives in four directions, you are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, we have our friend, State Senator Mary Kunesh on, and we really always appreciate her insight in what's going on locally and statewide here in Minnesota, and also nationally. We have all these great conversations over the years, and I want to welcome you as always. Thank you so much for stopping in and updating our listening audience, and remind everyone too, we're on all social medias, and also you can catch our show on all the iTunes and things like that. So welcome, State Senator.
Mataki Ape, everybody. It's good to be here.
Yeah, last night I was at Sean Sherman's, I don't know if it was a soft opening or a VIP opening, and I don't know how we got invited, but Wendy and I got invited, and what is it, Indigena restaurant, formerly Owamni, and geez, we've been watching Sean in the last good 10 years, maybe even a little longer, when he started with his food truck, and how he's really become an award-winning chef and restaurateur, and we're really excited for him.
I think it's just fabulous that he's able to sort of pivot from that original kind of culinary experience in his Owamni restaurant, and now to bring this new featured, and isn't it, did I hear them say that it's a barbecue place? I mean, is that, I have to look at the menu, but I know that it's in a great space right there on the river still. And I'm certain that his foods will be just, as delectable as ever.
Yeah. And the staff is always so on it and friendly. And yeah, and I do believe he was telling me too that there's going to be a couple different menus, and one of them would be like a late night menu after the play's done, and then of course other menus during the day. And it was funny, State Senator, we walked in there and they had a huge screen, and I imagine the former people might have put some sporting event up on the big screen, but they were playing Smoke Signals, and I went, this is so cool and apropos. This is awesome.
That would be very cool. That if they play things like that. Yeah, I was at an event last night. It was actually Canada Day.
Oh,
I don't know if you know that. And I am on the Minnesota or the Midwest Canadian Relations Committee for the Minnesota Senate.
wow.
So we got to, they had a little reception last night and invited a bunch of people there to celebrate. It was down at the Fulton tap room, and they had a big TV on, and who was playing soccer but Canada.
Oh, there you go.
It was
Awesome.
perfect. But yeah, that was kind of cool to spend some time with the Canadians, trying to, well, I don't want to say trying to build good relations. I think we still have good relationships with Canada. I think there's some hard feelings about the tariffs and the things that have happened that have made it very difficult for Canada's economy as well as our own with the current federal regime. But really great folks came. They had, regular Canadians that live here in the Twin Cities there. There were, some of us legislators. There was the Consul General, who was a really lovely, lovely person. I got to practice my French, my high school French.
We
I did okay. And yeah, that was a lovely evening. So there's, so many people when they talk about Minneapolis, they think that it's all gloom and doom and crime and this and that. But boy, oh boy, there's just always something cool going on. And now with this new restaurant right next to the theater, it's going to make it even better.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And speaking of the opposite of gloom and doom, our president one thing I wanted to say too about the Canadian thing is that we had the World Cup here, and people do realize that Americans are a lot different than what's going on federally. And I've seen that, and I imagine you experienced that too last night.
Yeah, it is true. And, you have to remember at one time there was no border, there was no line. And so a lot of our Indigenous relatives, live in Canada, live in the United States. And it's just a line that, we used to be able to go through pretty easily. I know during COVID, there was a lot of,
oh my God.
A lot of angst because they weren't able to see family members.
Or got stuck up there.
Yes. Yep. And couldn't make it back. But I'm the host of the Midwest Council of State Legislators this fall. And we are hosting a conference here in St. Paul. And I asked them specifically to do it during the fair. Yes. So we'll have all these, and it includes 4 of the Canadian provinces. So we'll have some of the Canadians coming down. They're very excited to experience our fair. And it's really great to work with another country like that really wants to create that good relation between Minnesota, the Midwest, the nation, to be mutually beneficial and not one-sided one way or the other.
Well, I hope again, we were talking about Sean Sherman's restaurant, and they are doing the Native American Day too again this year, and it took a season off, and they're going to have that again on, I believe it's on a Sunday. So hopefully they're up there, and if not, bring them to Native Roots Trading Post. And again, I got to do a quick plug. We're going to be at Pride and in section 392 for the weekend of Pride, and then also I'll be doing a show with Robert Lilligren and Alfred Two Bowls during the 1 o'clock time on Saturday. One of the things
Is that next weekend?
Yes.
Yep, next weekend.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. One of the things I wanted to bring up, and maybe we won't have a lot of time to talk about it in this segment, but we can talk about it next segment, is with hope, there's joy. And yesterday's opening of Obama's, and it's not a library, presidential library, it's a center.
A presidential center with so much to do and really took the community into context when making those plans.
Yeah, and just listening to all the speeches and the people, and I'm very emotional, but it seems like lately, if I see something sad, I don't realize I'm crying, and hearing Brock's wife Michelle speak on him, I had like water on the side of my eyes, and it's like, oh, I think I'm really getting emotional here.
I know. I mean, the dynamic between those two is so inspirational. When she was standing up there and saying, Barack, look at me. Now you have to look at me. And he's like, I'm not going to look at you. And, just the authenticity and sincerity of her comments about her husband and the kind of human being that he is, it's like so inspirational. And to think of when we had him as our president and where we are right now, it's like, let's get Barack back.
Yeah. Or someone like him, definitely, and the proof was in the pudding. You had all kinds of people there from all over the world, including all the past presidents, and that goes along with George Bush. And that's the way things used to be. We disagreed to disagree, but we all were there for the country. Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh. We're going to take a quick break. This is
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovative Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
Maintaining our health, particularly our heart health, is very important to us as a family.
Your heart gives you time with family, time with community, time to pass down what matters. Protecting your heart helps keep those moments alive. A visit with a healthcare provider can be one step toward a healthier future. Learn more at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats. Your heart health is essential because your heart beats for generations.
Phase 2 of the Track and Signals project for the full Metro Blue Line begins June 29th and requires replacement bus service until August 19th. The Metro Green Line will also need replacement bus service at select stations for several dates of the Blue Line maintenance period. Sign up for rider alerts and learn about replacement bus station locations and dates at metrotransit.org/track-signals. Again, that's metrotransit.org/track-signals.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, we're back, everyone. We are with our friend State Senator Mary Kunesh from the great state of Minnesota, and just getting updates on what's happening. And always you have an interesting life, political life, and life with your grandchildren and your successful children. It's just really great to have this friendship with you and just see our lives changing in the last 10 years so much. It's been really fun, and we're relatively the same age, so it's even funner because we both kind of retired from teaching at the same time. And
I mean,
parallels.
When you think about like the generation before us at our age, I mean, people were literally retiring and kind of like their professional or their work life was over. And I don't know about you, but you've just taken on the circle, it's like none of our lives are slowing down at all. You know, we're not sitting on the couch watching the soap operas during the day or whatever.
Right.
And so I think that that's really a big change in this one generation, is that many folks our age who would typically have perhaps retired are now almost into second, third, fourth careers, or they're staying active, or they find that, oh, I want to retire. And then they retire and they're like, this isn't quite what I want. I need something to do. And so it's always great when those folks get out there and find ways to continue to contribute to the community.
I'm going to say a statement about that. And one of the things, at 60, I am a elder in my tribe, but I also work for my tribe. So what I want to say is that healthcare, if we had universal healthcare, and I feel that way about, you know, my second career and third career after teaching, is that with that kind of thing to set back on, and that I had healthcare, it changed a lot of things for me. And that's why I just personally think about universal healthcare for everybody would change the economy, because people would be working and doing what they want to do and not be married to jobs that they didn't like. And so that's part of my journey though too, is to have that freedom to do other things.
That is such an interesting point. The fact that, you know, as teachers, we paid for our health care, but we had it, and we had probably negotiated really good health care. And therefore we were able to keep ourselves healthy. We could go to the dentist, we could go to the eye doctor, we could go to the doctor, and have some security in that it wasn't going to destroy our lives.
Right.
Or that we weren't afraid, or not afraid, but that we would go to the doctor when something happened, where again, just a generation ago, and I think of my mom and her sisters who had, you know, typical Native issues with high blood pressure, diabetes, heart issues. You know, they weren't of the mindset to go to the doctor and seek preventative means. And you know, they aren't as health conscious as far as eating goes and getting exercise. And, you know, they left this world way too early. We miss them sorely. I mean, they were dynamic women. They were, you know, you didn't mess with those Kelly girls, I'm telling you. But they always had your back for anything that, you know, you might be struggling with. And now I think, and maybe this isn't true for everybody across the state or across this country, but hopefully that healthcare is more available. But at the legislature, that's certainly something that we are still working really hard on, having universal healthcare. We're trying to put together, you might be interested in this. I passed a bill that would require all the school districts to share with the legislature, you know, how much they are paying for healthcare, you know, what is the deductible, all those details, so that we can understand where those dollars are going that come from the taxpayers into the school districts. And then the school districts have to pay these ridiculous amount of health insurance premiums. And it's always part of the negotiations also. But if we could do a universal teachers education personnel health insurance program here in Minnesota, where we could get out the middlemen that are taking so much of the money, that we could negotiate better prices because we have this huge group of people. So that was one of the bills that I passed this summer. And I'll be really curious to see how much Minnesota's taxpayer dollars are actually going to healthcare for our education personnel, and how much, I don't want to say ripped off, but how much, of those dollars are going to, second and third and fourth people in the middle that we can possibly cut out and have better health care for everyone.
Well, I believe I was in the second largest school district, St. Paul, or is that? I think that was the second. I think it's probably the third now because I think one of the suburbs.
Anoka Hennepin.
Yeah. But at the end of my career, I know the health insurance wasn't very good and it was very expensive and basically no dental. Now, 30 years or earlier, or even 40 years earlier, teachers had really good health care and it's been whittled down, possibly by, of course, cost, but also possibly with having a middle person in there, different companies. I just really believe that our economy would totally change if we went to universal health care. People would be working and doing things that they'd want to do, and they'd be covered, and they wouldn't have to worry about the health care. And I just went through a whole thing about my prescription because I just became with Medicare, and it's been a nightmare. I've spent like 4 hours today trying to figure out this and that and calling people, and believe it or not too, and we got to give a shout out to, it's Juneteenth today. And it's a holiday, so there's people that are off work too. So happy Juneteenth too, by the way.
Yeah, we have to remember the significance of that, and how our African American ancestors also really got the short end of the stick back then, and probably are still. And what's really interesting is, like, we're talking about these health disparities, the intersectionality of our Black community and our Indigenous community are so similar. It's a struggle for minorities, and the health issues that plague us as Indigenous people are very much the same as the African Americans. So when we are fighting for our Indigenous health, it also is going to benefit everybody else, hopefully down the road.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very well said. It's just amazing. These weeks fly by, and I'm kind of happy too. In one sense, we really haven't talked about what's happened federally with the us losing another war, and the gas price is still high, and this is the 40th time that Trump has said that he's ended the war now. So I'm glad that we were talking about, Sean Sherman and Obama. And so what else do we got? And the Canadian celebration too. What else do we got going on? There's a lot of good, positive things happening.
There are a lot of really good, positive things happening out there. And I think if we just look at our own communities and what's happening in our communities, like all these good farmer markets, right? I was really proud. I'm really proud to have been one of the founders of the New Brighton Farmers Market in my city here. And we're on our 11th year. And it draws people from all over the place, from all the different communities surrounding us, and provides that economic opportunity for those small vendors to come in and sell their wares. It's across the street from, retirement center. So those folks can just walk across and get fresh vegetables. And we participate in a program where if you're over 65, you get $2 off your produce, things like that. So there are fabulous things going on in our community. We have Pride coming up next week, you said. I know in my community of Columbia Heights, they recently came together and said, we don't want those surveillance cameras in our community.
Yeah.
People are coming together and saying, we don't want data centers.
Yeah.
So people are coming together and speaking up and saying, we have to take care of ourselves in the best way possible. And, in some of these communities, those officials that were elected that made poor choices are now being replaced, or they're stepping down because for whatever reason. So I guess I'm just really proud of how Minnesotans still continue to stand up. And of course, we just had those 15 people arrested this year, this
Oh,
week. And then Bemidji, ICE up there.
yeah.
The community is still there for everyone.
Do we have time for another segment, or do we have to say hasta la bye-bye?
You know what? I'm hearing some rustling upstairs of those little boys, so I better not give it a third try. But it's been lovely being with everyone. Mopulatanka, Robert, and Mishka, and we'll see you again soon.
Right on. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we'll be back right after this short break. Please stay with.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Visit during free Thursday nights. Every week from 5 to 9 p.m., there's something new to explore. Enjoy date-friendly events like artist talks, performances, and exhibition openings, or explore art-making open library hours and exhibition tours. Settle into your weekend among community. Free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org. Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovative Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
Heart health is more than just the physical well-being. It represents like a foundation of vitality, resilience, and the ability to live fully.
Your heart carries stories of resilience, love, and survival. Caring for your heart means honoring yourself and the generations before and after you. It means protecting your ability to gather, laugh, and be present. Learn more about your heart health at hennepincounty.gov/heart-beats, because your story matters and your heart beats for generations.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Phase 2 of the Track and Signals project for the full Metro Blue Line begins June 29th and requires replacement bus service until August 19th. The Metro Green Line will also need replacement bus service at select stations for several dates of the Blue Line maintenance period. Sign up for rider alerts and learn about replacement bus station locations and dates at metrotransit.org/track-signals. Again, that's metrotransit.org/track-signals.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a new show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. The show is called Native American Patriot Talk Radio. What will we do on the show? We are going to explore and dive into the source of American constitutional sovereignty, the intersection of Native American and legal issues. Find us the first and third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. on AM 950.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for scattered showers and storms tonight with a low around 54. Saturday sunny with a high near 75. And Sunday partly cloudy with a high around 74. Experience live music like never before at Crooner's Supper Club. Enjoy top-tier performances in the main stage showroom, Dunsmore Jazz Room, or Under the Stars at the Belvedere. Plus, Maggie's Piano Lounge is always open with no cover charge. Find more details at croonersmn.com.
This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, I'm Tiergan. And I'm Hadley. We're two of the very first listeners, and we're still listening. listening to Native Roots Radio.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Native Roots Radio, and we got an event that we talked to Mark Tilson here earlier this week, and I want to play that interview again. And it was a lot of information on Monday. There's a big hoop to do at the American Indian Center in Minneapolis, and I just want to play this interview again. So let's take a listen.
Introduce myself for a moment. Wakopa luta machapalo kahe sinte elwati Oglala Lakota mie. My name is Mark Kenneth Tilson. I'm Oglala Lakota from Porcupine, South Dakota, and I'm here to talk about Pipestone. On June 22nd, starting at, I believe, 1 o'clock until 4:30 p.m., we're going to have a comment jam and a teach-in over at the American Indian Center. And yeah, and the whole idea is like we have until 4:30 for all of the initial comments to be submitted to the Public Utilities Commission. And we're going to be working with Braveheart Society, and I think we're also going to have Elijah Smalls, who's an ecologist, and let's see, Dr. Alexis Archambault, who's a hydrologist with Braveheart. And so we'll be talking about Pipestone, Minnesota, and the quarry from both ecological, hydrological, political, and cultural perspective. And yeah, and part of it is protecting the sacred site itself, and also part of it is asserting tribal sovereignty, that we want to have the ability to say no when these pipelines cross our treaty lands and our traditional lands as well.
Yeah, and I'd see Rachel Dion Thunder will be one of the speakers, yourself, and like you said, Eli Small and Dr. Archambault. Really excited. I'll be stopping by because it's only a few minutes from my pad over here, and then I can still get back and do the show. But what a great idea to do this, and I just cannot echo this more and more about the great work that you're doing with Indigenous Environmental Network. And talk us, people that are just listening in too, talk about the sacredness of Pipestone and what's involving in this.
Yeah, as you know, or maybe not, like this is one of the things that's really surprising. There's a lot of people who don't know is for most source of our pipes, most source of our chanupa, the red catalanite only has one source, and that's the Sacred Quarry in Pipestone, Minnesota. And it's one of the things that when we're talking about these, we've all been given teachings about the pipe, but when we say it's like it's all connected, it's actually coming from one individual source. And it's kind of crazy to think that, like, the pipe that you have could be made from the same stone from the pipe that your brother or your family or somebody you never even met, like they have a chanupa from that exact same stone as well. And it could have been right next to each other, formed in the exact same formation, physically close. And there was this teaching that I remember when I was a young man. They were coming up and they were telling us very in a spiritual and energy way, is like whatever energy you're around goes into the chanupa. And how we're learning it now is like physically it's true, it's a porous material, and so if it's contaminated, it absorbs whatever the contamination is. And so it's one of the reasons why that we have to protect Pipestone. And the Magellan Pipeline was originally created in the 1940s, right through the quarry itself. The permit expired back in 2022 and has been basically decommissioned for years. And they have reapplied for a reroute permit, and they have one proposed route at less than a mile. They have another proposed route at 3 miles and a larger route at 5. And what we're asking them is to deny the permit in its entirety, that we are not in favor of a reroute. We want no new pipeline. And I think the more voices that we have that are unified with that same message, it's really important. And it's also, we're building off of some of the work that our elders and our tribal leaders have done. Steve Vance out of Cheyenne River, he pointed out that this company chose their own contractor to do the cultural survey, and a option of no action taken, a denial of the permit, was never even presented to the tribes. So they're going to have to write in and pass resolutions, like I believe it was White Earth, that since last we talked, they actually passed a resolution coming out in direct opposition. They're saying any future pipeline that has to be considered needs to be based on free and prior informed consent with the tribal nations. And our tribal nations need to be engaged in a nation to nation relationship, not treated as, you know, I feel like the current status is expert witnesses on cultural, oh my God, I can't even remember the technical name that they use, but items or artifacts. And but that's kind of the de-evolution of what the treaties are being treated as. And it's like, no, there was literally a treaty, the 1858, the Treaty of Yankton, which actually created the protected area of Pipestone. And you know, for Lakota people, we were connected to our Chanupa through P'tay Sangwi. And my understanding is she is a reincarnation of Woape from our creation stories, the lawgiver. And with her came the sacred rights of the Lakota and Dakota people. And so it's why all of our ceremonies have a Chanupa at the center of them.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at my pipe too, and I kind of got chills when you said that it's all from the same place. And I do know that, but to hear that again, it's amazing. I'm looking at it too, and of course it's not put together, and only put together when you're using it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
My buddy Dallas Nelson would tease the heck out of me because I'm, you know, as a younger man, I was very much involved in our ceremonies, and I came up going to Sweat and Sundance and all of that, but I'm not really around them as much as an adult. Guys slowly creeping into my middle age. So I apologize for speaking before my elders, and I recognize there are many more people with much greater experience and expertise about this than I. The stem in the bowl is a metaphor for a life coming together. And in that completion, it is a symbol for our life, our way of life. For Lakota people, Dakota people, all of the prayer that we have, and this is our primary tool in connection to Creator, goes through the one pipe that's cared for by the White Buffalo Calf Pipe Keeper. And this is a traditional role. And all of our prayers kind of come together and go through that. And I think, and I remember there was a time, like, what's kind of funny is I was born after the Indian Freedom of Religion Act.
Yeah, 1978.
And, yeah, and so, but before that, having a Chanupa was almost probable cause for being a militant Indian, for a radical. Like, you could get harassed for having long hair, and they would use the fact that you'd have a pipe has evidence of somehow that you're part of the Red Power movement, or you're part of AIM, or you're one of those radicals, or one of those traditionals. And in the eyes of the state, that kind of all got mixed together and mashed together. And, you know, I think we very much are coming from a place where, like, we walked through the doors that were kicked open by the elders in the generation before us. And we're very, like, I've never lived with our ceremonies outlawed before.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I tell people too, and we talk about this quite a bit, is that I was 17 when this law changed. Imagine that, I'm only 65 right now. Well, I guess I'm old, but I hung around with Clyde Belcourt in his last, 10 years of his life. And when anything ever special happened, whether we were in Wounded Knee or in the Badlands, he would make sure that he would pull out the pipe and pass it around. And for that, I'm ever grateful to be amongst giants like himself.
Yeah, I think we owe a lot to that generation, and it's one of the reasons why, like, right now, it's kind of crazy. Is like, hey, we can stop a pipeline through some public comments. Like, we don't have to fight them on the land. Nobody's trying to chain themselves to a bulldozer. You can literally send an email and have your voice heard, and have it heard powerfully. And it's one of the things that I want to make really clear to the state of Minnesota. It's like, I understand that you believe this pipeline needs to go through, in just the way that railroads feel inevitable, or AI feels inevitable, or the way that, our economy once operated off of whale blubber. And all of those actions feel incredibly inevitable. And the truth is, we know that there are goals within the state of Minnesota to be aligned with combating climate change and our contribution to greenhouse gases and burning of fossil fuels. And this pipeline goes against those publicly stated goals.
This is Native Roots Radio. Again, up next, Wendy with her Best of Sacred Animal section. We'll be right back.
Phase 2 of the Track and Signals project for the full Metro Blue Line begins June 29th and requires replacement bus service until August 19th. The Metro Green Line will also need replacement bus service at select stations for several dates of the Blue Line maintenance period. Sign up for rider alerts and learn about replacement bus station locations and dates at metrotransit.org/track-signals. Again, that's metrotransit.org/track-signals.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovated Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
Culture prevents so many negative things from happening to us as individuals and as communities.
Strong roots begin with a healthy heart. For Indigenous women, heart health is part of caring for community, culture, and future generations. Even small steps can help protect what matters most. Discover ways to support your heart at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats, because your heart beats for generations.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950. In this portion of the show, we'd like to bring awareness to our wolf and bear populations throughout Turtle Island. Say no to the hunts.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Native Roots Radio, and we are with Wendy. And just a quick shout out to Robert Lilligren. Thanks so much for coming on earlier. And Wendy, I just want to say again a big thank you. We never really asked for anything like this, and we're really grateful for the people that have reached out to help you with this task. This very cool task.
Really heartwarming. It really is. Like I said before, there's 1,694 people signed up for this. In fact, the woman who I'm sharing my hotel room with is flying in from Hawaii. I just I really like, I have to drive 4 hours. So, okay, big deal, right? But there's people coming from all over the country to do this. So if you're interested in joining our group, go to savethedogs.io. Again, I was telling you guys earlier, right now, this morning, the number of people going and going to be working on this is 1,694. That's the total. So there's 3 different teams I was talking about the last 2 days. So the green team is there to cheer us on, to bring awareness, to show solidarity. You're there just singing songs, you have signs in your hands. That's what you're doing. Yellow team, you're going to be a little bit more active. Yellow team is you're going to help the red team get the dogs out safely, help maybe block people who are trying to get at us and get at the dogs. So they have a really hard role, I believe. Red team is the team that's actually going inside the building, carrying the dogs out. That team has the highest risk of arrest. Actually, you could get a felony for theft and trespassing. Yellow team also does have a smaller risk of being arrested for trespassing. But anyway, we have, I'm going to break it down. This is really exciting because listen to this. Out of the 1,694 people total, 535 are on the red team, 546 are on the yellow team, and 532 are on the green team. There's 83 teams total, and I'm on one team. Our team is called Ready or Not, like red, right? Red-Y, ready or not. We're excited about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was House Representative Wisconsin, Mark Pocan. I want to give him a shout out. I actually called his office today and gave him told his legislative assistant to please thank him very much for support of what we're doing and support of the dogs inside the facility. Rigland Farms reached out to House Representative Mark Pocan and were like, listen, there's these animal extremists coming here and, they're going to break our doors down and take the dogs out, and we need you to stop them, right? That's what Rigland Farms said to Representative Mark Pocan. And Mark Pocan wrote back and is like, no, sorry. No, sorry. In addition, this is what Mark Pocan said. This is the last paragraph of the letter to Rigland Farms. In addition to my concerns about the ethical treatments of the beagles on your property, I encourage the prioritization, I can never say that word, of safe rehoming to every beagle possible. No dog should lack the decency of a safe and loving environment. So there you go. That was his response to Rigland Farms. I think if we took a poll, Robert, of all the people in Wisconsin who live around this Rigland Farms, and I think that a lot of people, first of all, wouldn't even know that this place existed because it's like on a far dirt road far away from the eyes, right? Because you don't want anybody to know about this kind of thing, right?
We experienced that there were lions and tigers in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like at a farm, like in small teeny cages.
Yep. After we rode down that big long road and finally came to it. Yeah, it's off set off to the side. They don't want people to know about this. It's horrific. I think if we took a poll of everybody saying, do you want the dogs rescued or do you want them to remain in there for breeding and experimentation? I think I know what the answer is. I think I know what would happen. All the dogs inside are beagles. I've talked about why they use beagles in the first place. Mainly is because they're very docile. They're very docile dogs. They don't have a bite reflex kind of thing. Like, some dogs, if you pinch them or, go to grab them, their reflex is to nip at you or bite you. Beagles don't have that in them. So they're really docile. They're very loyal. They're very loving. They're very kind dogs. They're a really good size too, right? They're not too small. They're not too big. They're kind of just right, a good size. And these dogs are just, abused. And so it's, it's always like the most kind of the animals that you can abuse. So yeah. So I went on Amazon and I'm looking at all I did was I typed in harnesses that would fit beagles because I don't know what size I would get, and look what came up. I'm going to show. It came up with a beagle. The harnesses. It's actually a beagle.
Wow.
It shows a beagle in a harness. So I'm going to get quite a few of these harnesses for after we get them rescued. We'll have slip leads on them at first. That's kind of like it's kind of like a leash. It kind of goes around their neck and like tightens up if they so we don't lose the dog. So those are really good. We use those, Robert, when we used to transport the dogs back in the day.
Hey, I just want to give a shout out to Jim for saying awesome, save the puppy project, stay strong, be safe, and be woke. I am awake.
Yeah, I got to be woke. And you know what? It's kind of like, I was saying the other day, and a lot of the people who I'm doing this with feel the same way. You risk arrest, you risk some type of harm to yourself, but you do it because you want to change things. You want to bring awareness so that everybody knows what's going on and that laws can change and things can change. So that's why we're doing this. We're risking, being uncomfortable, being in the jailhouse, So hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully we'll be able to get these dogs out and get them safe and get as many as possible. I mean, our goal is to get every single last one of those dogs out.
Yeah, I've met Mark Pokane, and again, his office number is 608-258-9800. And you talked to somebody in there, and they were very hip to what's going on.
Exactly. I just talked to the legislative assistant who answers the phone, and I just said, listen, I'd please give, they take your name and whatever, and then they just say, and your zip code. And I just said, thank you. I want to just say thank you. And thanks for the support. I did say, if Mark can go one more step and really try to convince Riglin Farms to surrender all the dogs to us, that would be like the best thing that could happen. The problem is, and I also talked about this too, Riglin Farms, because of the 311 violations that they have, most of them, again, are for animal cruelty. They are set to stop their breeding. And they're supposed to close down on July 1st. We don't want those dogs in there a minute longer than they have to be subjected to more experiments and breeding before they close down.
Absolutely.
Each dog is worth $1,000. So each dog can be sold elsewhere to the United States and be experimented on elsewhere. So we don't want that.
Again, thank you, Big Peeny Gigi, for everyone that's donated at Wendy-Pilot on Venmo. Good on you, Wendy, really.
Thanks, Robert.
Hey, we'll be back tomorrow. This is Native Roots Radio.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with